Hey folks, Ladder Season 1 is on the way, and although Blizzard is still having server issues, crashes and rollbacks, and lately Q, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't still be playing or learning methods of getting rich, because by the time Season 1 gets here, I'm sure, or I hope at least, that these issues will have been dealt with. And with that, I would like to share with you the absolute ultimate budget magic finding Sorc. I will take you through the leveling process, the stats, and the super easy to get gear, which will allow you to kill Hell, Mephisto, Andy, Pindle, and level 85 item drop zones with ease. With this Sorc, you will be able to successfully gain wealth, and by the time Season 1 comes, you'll know what you need to do to get a head start. This guide is broken down into 5 main chapters. I will leave timestamps in the description, as well as any builds which I mention. And as always guys, if you find this guide helpful or entertaining, please help the channel by subscribing. It would really help me out. And now with that being said, let's get into the guide. Now there are 2 main routes people usually take when leveling a Sorc. They either take a lightning Sorc with charged bolt or a fire Sorc with fireball. It is entirely up to you, however the premise of this guide is to make it as powerful as possible with using as low gear as possible. So I always use a fireball Sorc, and that's for one reason: the leaf rune word. 3 to all fire skills, 3 to firebolt, 3 to warmth. It's a really powerful weapon that can be used really early on. Just go to Akara and buy a 2-socket staff from her. Make sure it's grey, not blue, or the rune word will not work. Add Tyr Ral. These rune words are extremely easy to get. You can get them by killing contests just a few times. Now let's talk about your leveling stats. If you follow my leveling guide that I put up last week, you should be able to hit 80 in a day or 2. However, during this time, the stats to add will be as follows. Strength and dexterity, only just enough to wear your gear. Energy, enough to make leveling comfortable. It's not all that important because we will respec later on. And vitality, put the rest of your stats in vitality. Skill points wise, while we're leveling, you want to put 1 to warmth, 1 to frozen armor, 1 to telekinesis, and 1 to teleport. You'll also want to put 1 in static field. Now, for leveling, I recommend that we max out Firebolt and we max out Fireball. While leveling, Fireball will be your main attack. Make sure to reapply frozen armor as and when you can. Now, around about now, if you've followed my leveling guide, you should be a nightmare. We are going to make 2 rune words which are going to help us massively. We will start doing normal cows. To make a cow level, go to Tristram, get Word's leg, and cube it with a Tome of Teleport. In normal cows, you will need to find a 2-socket breastplate, a 2-socket shield, and a white crystal sword. In the breastplate, add Nef Lum to make a smoke chest piece, and in the shield, add Shale Eth to make rhyme. These 2 rune words will bump up your resistances massively, which will be needed in Hell mode. Now, for the white crystal sword, please check out my other video which I made last week on the easiest way to make a spirit sword. It's a quick guide, only takes about 5 minutes to watch, and it explains in depth and detail the easiest way to get a spirit sword, which is going to be your powerhouse at this level. You should now be able to handle Nightmare with ease, and it'll be time for us to be respecking. If you haven't guessed already, the goal of our guide is going to be getting a dual Spirit Monarch and Spirit Sword. So continue power leveling using my previous leveling guide, or level at your own pace, it's up to you. But once you get to around about 70-75 mark, you will need to do 2 things. You will need to get a Spirit Monarch, and you'll need to respec. Now, go ahead and look at my other guide on the easiest route to getting a Spirit Monarch. You can do it solo, or you can do it by joining Hell Cows. There's lots of lobbies up there. It's a quick 5-minute guide and it can be done solo, as I said. Once you have your Spirit Monarch, go to Akara and reset your specs. It's time to respec, so you should be adding your stats in this order. Strength, enough to wear your gear. Now, notice you'll need a lot more strength because of the Monarch. Dexterity, none. Energy, none. You will get plenty from your gear. And Vitality, the rest of your stats need to go into Vitality. Skills, 1 into Warmth, 1 into Telekinesis and Teleport, 1 into Static Field, and 1 into Frozen Armor. Now, some people prefer Shiver or Chilling Armor, but I prefer to save the points, personally. Now it's time to max out Blizzard, max out Ice Bolt, and max out Ice Blast and Glacial Spike. Blizzard will be our main damage dealer, and Ice Blast will be our crowd control. If you open your skills and push an F number, you can assign them as hotkeys. I like to keep them as Teleport on F1, Blizzard on F2, and Frozen Armor on F3. Your left attack will stay as Ice Blast. Get used to pushing F1, F2 and F3, as you'll be doing that a lot to swap between your skills, to swap between Teleport and Blizzard especially. Now that your sorceress has 2 spirits, push the W button to swap to your second weapon slot and keep your rhyme there. Later, we will use it to magic find. At level 75 you can gamble with Geed. Keep gambling for diadems and make sure you do it in Hell. Eventually you will find a 3 plus all cold skills diadem. Now, with the gear you have obtained, you will be powerful enough to MF. Your magic find percentage won't be that high, but that's not the end of the world. It'll just take a little bit longer to find a few items that you can use to trade for, say for example, a Scolders or a Gold Dagger. I was lucky enough to get a gold rune off of my Hellforge, and I split it into 2 ists, which I then used to trade for a Scolders and a gold, with change to spare actually. Now, it is possible to gamble for a Gold Dagger. I'm about to make a video on that too, but I've spent 3 million gold so far and I gave up. However, they are very cheap to trade for. The rest of your gear should be pretty easy to get hold of. I found myself a Viper Maggie in Nightmare and Dariel. However, just keep MFing. It doesn't matter if you do it in Nightmare or Hell really at this stage. Just build up your gear, for example your boots, your rings, if you can find Nagel rings or a nice amulet. But your main gear for the time being will be the diadem, the 2 spirits, and the smoke armor. The rest of your gear, such as your boots and your rings, you can trade up or you can find while MFing, but over time you'll be able to trade them up to perhaps Nagel rings or perhaps war traps, but that's later game stuff. Once you reach around about level 85 and you have the gear sets which I previously just mentioned, you should easily be able to handle Andariel, Mephisto, Pindle in Hell. And you should also easily be able to manage lower crust runs. Watch my guide on how to get rich and see my magic find rotation and how I do it in more detail. However, in order, I typically do Andariel, Mausoleum and Crypt, Sewers level 1 and 2, but not 3. I also do lower crests, super chests, Mephisto and Pindle. Also, if you choose to, you can do Hell Cow runs. Because of the high mob density, it's quite a good place to farm high runes. Now, once I've finished all those runs, I make another game and I do them in reverse. This is the very last and very important point I need to make. Keep your Spirit Sword and your Spirit Monarch on while fighting and teleporting. And once you're fighting the boss and he's got to about half health, push W to swap to your Gull and your Rhyme. Your magic find is calculated upon the weapons you are holding or the gear you have when the killing blow happens. Now, if you choose to, you can keep an Act 2 Merc with you with an insight weapon on. It is very cheap and it will keep your mana up very high. However, I find that with dual spirits, it's not really necessary. He usually gets in the way and he usually pulls cold immunes when I'm fighting Mephisto. So I just don't bother with it. Thank you very much, guys. That pretty much concludes my guide. I really do hope that it has been helpful for you. Have a look at some of my other guides. I know they all are kind of interlinked to this guide, but I think they'll be really helpful to you to making a good start on Ladder Season 1. And as always, guys, see you next time. Thank you.